Hey guys, it is a beautiful spring day today, and I don't know about you, but I've been itching to do some work in my yard. And one of my favorite things to do in both the spring and the fall is to dethatch and scarify my lawn. And when you scarify and dethatch, you're gonna be pulling up all of that dead grass, that dead material that's fallen down to that lower thatch layer of your grass, and open up your lawn so that your roots have room to grow, your grass will thicken up, and allows things like oxygen and nutrients to reach your soil, where when you have a really thick thatch layer, it's hard for those things to make it all the way down. This is one of those parts of yearly yard maintenance that a lot of people skip, but makes all the difference in having a healthy, green, beautiful lawn. So today I'm going to show you how to easily dethatch and scarify your lawn using a tool like the Sunjoe Dethatcher and Scarifier. I've used older versions of this Sunjoe throughout the years, and I finally went and bought myself my own. They did not send this to me. I bought this with my own money. So today I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide on how to assemble this Sunjoe Dethatcher and Scarifier and how to use it to dethatch, scarify, and aerate your yard the right way. So let's go. So let's get right into it. Let's unbox this, see what comes in the package, and then start putting it together. So the first thing on here looks like the bag. I will test this out in the video, but every review I've ever read and anytime I've used an older version of the Sunjoe, I've never used the bag. Everything says it's too small, but we will try it out, see what it's like. Within here, it looks like there's some holes. We'll figure out what to do with those. We've got a component with sharp pins. We'll set this to the side right here. Over here in this little compartment, we have got the instructions. We'll be pulling that out, reading that in just 1 minute. Now here is the handle for the unit. And then we have got the Dethatcher and Scarifier right here. They've changed the look up a little bit since the ones I've been using. It looks really nice. Oh, and I almost forgot, but there were some additional knobs that we're gonna need with some screws and bolts. Let's take this, put it over here, make sure everything else, we're good. Let's get this thing set up. Let's start with opening up the instructions. I guess you can scan to win something. It's gonna go through some safety precautions first, and then you're gonna go over to a parts list, and then we're gonna go over here to assembly. So I'm gonna show you how to assemble this through the video, but you can follow along in the manual as well. So the first thing that we are gonna need are these bars. You can get the straight ones and set them aside. So let me show you really quickly. On these, there's a side that has a square hole right here, and then the other side has a circle. But you want the square on the top. It's gonna look like this, where it goes in at the top, and you want the circle at the bottom. So for this piece, again, it's gonna angle in toward the unit. All you gotta do is just remove this knob. We're gonna pull this off. It is gonna be oriented where this little extra hook spot is gonna be going to the top. And then you're gonna take your pole, and again, we want it to angle in. So we are gonna put it in here with the circle hole at the bottom, just like this. You're gonna put it on the bolt, and then just take the knob, tighten that. So you can see right here, there are 3 little markers right there, 1, 2, 3. The bottom one is a low setting, so it's gonna put the handlebars low. Medium is medium, and then this is a high setting. And then I don't know if you can see it, there's a little arrow right here that shows where the setting is. I'll just go right in the middle for now. All right, let's go build the other side. All right, now it's time for these 2 straight poles right here. You're also gonna need to use a couple of these extra knobs and bolts that are in this bag. But you're gonna take it where the skinny side right here, it's gonna go on the outside, and you're gonna have those square holes match up. You're gonna go into this bag, pull out one of the bolts, and come in from the inside. Put it in, then we're just gonna take this knob and screw it on. And now we'll do the other side. All right, for this piece, this is gonna be at the top where you press it in to make it go. And you're gonna use the last 2 knobs and bolts that are in that little bag. And this is gonna go on the outside. We're gonna do the same thing where the bolt starts on the inside. So we'll just do one side to start. And I'm gonna put the bolts in both sides just so this thing doesn't keep falling down on me. There we go. Then we are just gonna screw these ones on. And one last thing to note, when you get the handlebars on there, you remember that little hook that was right here on the gear? This is actually a cable clip. I'm gonna be honest though, it was so hard to open this, to get this in. I was worried I was gonna break it. I ended up having to use some pliers and just pull it open to get that thing in. And then in that bag that had the extra knobs and bolts, there was one other cable clip right here that you can put on. This one was a lot easier just to open with my hands and put on. I just put it between the second and third knobs right here. And then if you are gonna use the bag, it goes on just like a mower. If you open this, there's a slot right here and right here that you'll just take the bag and just fit it in there. That closes and then she's ready to go. The only other thing we have left that we have not opened is the box that talked about sharp pins. This has got to be one of the attachments. Let's actually look and see what attachment came on it to start. Looks like it actually has the Scarifier attachment on here to begin with, but let's open this one up as well to see what the raking attachment looks like for dethatching. So you can see this is the raking attachment, and this actually looks quite a bit different than the one I used in years past. It actually looks a lot more heavy duty. These are pretty sharp tines that are gonna be raking the ground. And I'll also show you how to swap them out because we're gonna start with the dethatching one and then we're gonna move to the scarifying one to see the difference. To replace the attachment and put on either the raking one or the Scarifier, there's two bolts right here. It said it came with an attached hex key. I didn't see one in mine. Maybe it fell out when I was unboxing it, but it's a 3/16 Allen wrench will do the trick. So you just need to come in here, loosen these bolts. And then all you're gonna do is this little hex bolt pulls out of this right here. You will also wanna make sure that this stays on. This comes off pretty easy, but there's one of these for both attachments. So let's go ahead and put on the raking attachment. All right, we've got these bolts tightened, so we're ready to take this out for a spin. Let's go try out the raking attachment for dethatching, and then we'll try out the Scarifier attachment. All right, we've got the Sunjoe Dethatcher and Scarifier all set up. Now it's time to take it out and put it to work. Before I dethatch my yard, I typically like to go and scalp the yard, mow it as low as I can, and help bring up some of that dead material before I then go over it with the machine. So I'm gonna do that next, and then we'll go and use the raking attachment to dethatch. Just finished scalping the lawn. This is always kind of fun when you scalp it. You know, some of these areas looked fairly green, but when you chop it all off, you can see where it's stressed underneath. Where it's spring right now, it's kind of a nice time to scalp your lawns because your yard's just coming out of dormancy. It doesn't look that great anyway. So the only other thing you're gonna wanna do before you dethatch and scarify is come out. If you've got like sprinkler heads, you know, in your grass, not just on the edges, make sure you mark where those are. Or if you have like pop-up drains, something like that, you definitely don't want to go over those with the Scarifier attachment. You might be okay with the raking attachment, but the Scarifying one will probably rip those up. It's time to dethatch the yard. So we've put the bag attachment on. We're gonna try this out. We'll see how long it takes to get even half full. I bet it wouldn't even be more than 10, 15 feet. We'll find out. But the other thing you need to do is make sure you have the right attachment. So we have the rake attachment on here with the skinnier tines, the one with the thicker metal blades. That's the Scarifier attachment. And then the last thing that you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna adjust your height. So this knob is where you can adjust the height, and you can see there's a few different spots. There's 10, 5, 0, -5, and -10. When you're using the raking attachment for dethatching, you wanna stay 0 to 10. In my experience, just go as low as the manual recommends, which would be the 0 mark for the dethatching. And then when you're scarifying, we'll get to this too, it's basically anything from 0 to -10 is what it recommends for scarifying. And again, when you're trying to get some aeration, if I'm doing the Scarifier attachment, I'm gonna go down as low as I can go to the -10. Next, we take our extension cord, make sure it's the right one for however long of an extension cord it is that you're using the machine on. Go ahead and plug that in. Take the other side of your cord. Right here is the end to connect. So we're gonna connect this, make it tight. And then there's this one other little attachment they have right here where you can basically take this cord, bend it, put it in here, wrap it around this little hook. It's a little bit hard to get this bigger cord on there. And that'll hold this in place, so if you get tension on the line, it doesn't unhook you. I've also found that if you just kind of wrap it around it without going up and through, it still will hold on for most of the time. But yeah, that's the way to do it safely and securely. Wherever you are plugged in, I would start dethatching on that side and work away from it. That way, you're not having to move the cord each time. So make sure your cord is kind of on the side that you're starting and maybe loosen it up a little bit so it has some slack. And then we're just gonna go this direction and away from where the cord is. Then you won't have to spend any time moving this cord out of the way. Last thing to turn this on, what you're gonna need to do is there's a button right here. You're gonna hold the button, and while you're holding the button, you're gonna grab the handle and pull it together, and then it'll turn on and stay on until you let go of the handle, and then it will turn off. Let's get to it. Very last thing, when you scarify dethatch to get the best coverage, you're gonna wanna go one direction on the first pass and then do a second pass, go a perpendicular direction and see how much you pull up. We're gonna start with the bag. You see how long it takes to fill that thing up. I have a hunch that I'm not gonna be using this bag for very long, but I do wanna show you. So let's do that next. All right, so I went there and back and I'm already almost full. The one nice thing about this bag is it is see-through, so I can see how much is going in there. That's a nice touch. It's not totally great at even picking up all the thatch. There's quite a bit of thatch that's just still making it on the ground. Come take a look. So here you can see the see-through bag. Again, that is really nice. Like I said, I'm not totally full, about 3/4, but you can see it actually left quite a bit of thatch on the ground. So it just kind of begs the question, if it's gonna leave some of the thatch and you're gonna have to go and clean it up with a rake or a blower anyway, what's the point? I'm gonna bag this, but I am gonna take it off for the rest of the dethatching, so we'll go do that next. All right, we did our first pass and it pulled up a decent amount of stuff. Early on, it felt like when I had that bag on, it's maybe just because I could see it kicking up, felt like there was more coming up, but I'll be honest, having used the Scarifier attachment, almost every time I do this, I almost always get more stuff out when I scarify. So there's a couple ways that you can clean up this thatch. You don't want to just go right into the second pass. You're going to want to get a rake or get a blower and blow this all up into a pile. But where there's not so much, I'm just going to get my mower, raise up my mower deck, make an easy cleanup out of it. All right, so we just tried out the raking attachment. I'm not gonna do a second pass. There just wasn't enough that came up, and I just wanna show you the Scarifier attachment anyway. So I will go the opposite direction with that one, just so we get full coverage. Let's go ahead and quickly replace the attachment from the rake to the Scarifier blades. And remember, when you use the Scarifier attachment, you're gonna want to adjust the height to go lower. So 0, ooh, it's dusty. 0 or below. I'm gonna just go down to -10, the lowest one, and let's get it done. We just did a pass with the Scarifier attachment, and wow, look how much more thatch that pulled out. Oh, I was gonna show you too. You can see on this one where it kind of leaves that tilling. This is perfect for like big projects where either A, you just want to aerate the yard a little bit, give it some breathing room, give it some oxygen, some nutrients, or you have a big project like overseeding or leveling your yard. So this tool comes in handy. I use this thing, man, multiple times a year. But yeah, look at this. It's pulling a ton of stuff up, especially on this side. The grass was a little bit thicker over here. Over on this side, it was a little bit thinner and drier, but where it was a little bit thicker and had some matting and just thatch down in that lower layer, but it pulled up quite a bit. So I'm gonna clean this up. I'm probably gonna use a rake for these big piles over here, and then just grab the mower and do one pass with the mower and clean it all up, and we'll be good to go. All right, so that covers the unboxing, the assembly, and how to use this Sunjoe Scarifier and Dethatcher to work wonders in your yard. And my feedback from using this brand new one versus some of the older models that I have used, this one definitely has a little bit more power. It goes faster. It feels a little bit sturdier. It still kind of has that Fisher-Price plastic feel to it. And while I do like the raking attachment better than some of the older models, I still prefer that Scarifier attachment. The bag, while somewhat improved, I still don't know that it's worth it. Although I will say, pushing this new one, I don't know if the latch on the back is maybe a little bit tighter just because it's brand new or because it's a newer model, but typically as it fills up, it'll just start coming out the back. But I did notice that this one took a little bit longer before it would let it out. It's like it piled it in there. You almost had to raise the corners just a little bit to release some of the grass as you keep going. But outside of that, I'm super happy with the purchase. I'll include links in the description below if it's something you'd like to purchase. But yeah, for the price for this machine and how often it can be used and how many different projects you can use this for, I think it's definitely worth the money. 120, 130 bucks on Amazon. But if you're serious about your yard and yearly maintenance, cleaning out that thatch layer, getting something like this is definitely a must-have. All right, guys, that's it. If you like that video, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow our channel so you see more videos like this. But like I said, scarifying and dethatching is the first step of so many amazing yard projects. So if you're looking for something to do next, watch this video right here where we go over how to overseed your yard and get it looking nice and green. And we'll see you over there.